Okay, thank you guys so much for tuning into the podcast episode today. I am super excited to have a dear friend, colleague, and business partner of mine, Amy Phillips, on the podcast today. So Amy is a rock star wife and mom of 4 kids living in New Jersey, a GM and growth director of a group of KW real estate offices, a world-class recruiter, and Amy has actually recruited hundreds of agents to the company, which is pretty astounding. Growing a killer real estate portfolio with over 10 properties, laser focused on passive income and multiple streams of income. And Amy, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Greg.
You
Super
got it.
excited.
You got it. So let's just jump right in and let's talk about your background, Amy, and kind of what got you to where you are today.
Cool. So let's see. I was a young mom. I had my first daughter when I was 21. She just had her 20th birthday, so feel free to do the math. I decided to get my real estate license when she was about 6 months old. So I took a 2-week class. It was 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Crazy. I dreamt about real estate. It was a very intense couple of weeks. Got my license and started selling real estate. So that was 2004. So from 2004 to 2007, I was selling real estate with a smaller company, a boutique brokerage who actually has merged with my current company, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
And then in 2007, I started working for a title company in the sales aspect of it. I wasn't doing, the actual underwriting or policy writing or anything like that. I was doing sales with the company. And then in 2015, I was out to lunch with an attorney and a couple of agents and just talking about title insurance. And the one lady that I was with was with Keller Williams, and she turned to me and she said, "Do you want to be the team leader of my Keller Williams office?" And I said, "I have no idea what that is," because I didn't at the time. I didn't know anything about that model. I said, "Yeah, let's have a conversation." So started that process with her, and I reached out to a loan officer friend of mine to get some intel on the company. Because he worked closely with the KW office and put me in touch with the group of individuals that I am currently in business with. So
wow, that's so you're almost in for 20 years. I didn't even realize that. That's nuts.
I know, it's crazy, right?
So what I want to just ask a question on, because I know that a lot of people that listen to this, they're listening to this because they want more, they want to live a bigger life, or maybe they're struggling right now. And especially shout out to the single moms and the parents that are just pushing through right now and just doing whatever it takes. So you had a 6-month-old baby. What prompted you to just have the drive and the passion to say, you know what, I want to bet on myself. I want to get involved and I want to take action. What prompted that?
Well, I guess it was we first bought our house when she was just before she was born. So I loved that whole process. I feel like that's how a lot of people got into real estate. They bought their first house and they had a good time throughout the transaction and they thought, "Ooh, let me get my real estate license. This will be easy."
Or they had a bad time and they wanted to do better.
That's true. That's so true. Yes. Well, I had a great experience.
That's awesome.
Decided to get my license. But I also knew that having a child, I would need the flexibility. I wanted to be able to take her to doctor's appointments or, once she was old enough to play sports, go to her games. And I knew that industry had the ability to have that flexibility.
Yeah, that's a big driver, I think. And I think really it's the motivation and the reason why many get involved in the business and really start to go down the path of the entrepreneurial journey. Because of the flexibility. Like right now, I can't imagine having to, sneak out or ask for permission or anything like that. I don't think it would work for me any longer.
Nope, definitely.
The flexibility and the freedom is key to being able to be at those events. So that's awesome. So what made you, besides like the title versus the real estate industry, what made you start to really want to consider making that leap and betting on yourself? Because that's a big jump. And for those of you that are listening to this that aren't aware of this, like the real estate companies that we're a part of, they have anywhere between 75 to 250 agents in them. So it's not like you're just jumping in and there's like 15 people and you're just hanging out. Like it feels like, oh, wow, like this is about to get serious.
Yep. And it definitely did. So towards the end of my title venture, I knew that I wanted something more. I knew that was not my passion. I did not enjoy putting out fires because that's what I felt like I was doing. I loved going out and meeting new people and connecting people. I loved that aspect. My goodness, you're going to bloop that out, right?
That's okay. That's okay.
I love that aspect of it, but I didn't like the putting out fires. I didn't have control over a lot of it, and I knew I wanted more. So that's basically what made me change careers.
Okay, so then you jump right in. Now you take over the real estate brokerage as a team leader, right?
Yes.
Just walk us through what that journey was like, because we know that real estate is full of a lot of different personalities, and people have different needs. They have different emotions. They have different demands. So what was that like in the beginning stages?
Yep. So when I was going through the interview process, it was a lengthy process. It was a couple of months. One of the conversations that I had with somebody who was interviewing me was, if you are comfortable, then you're not growing. So make it a point every single day to be uncomfortable, because that means you're growing and that's going to get you to where you want to be. So I oftentimes think of that. I want to be uncomfortable every single day. I want to do things that are going to help me grow, that are going to make me a better version of myself. Personal growth was really important to me. I didn't realize how important it was until I was actually doing it. When I started with this company, John and I had, my husband and I had 2 investment properties. We now have 13. We're actually selling one currently, but we now have 13. And then we have 7 other streams of income, passive income coming in.
Woo!
And
Kudos to you. Congratulations.
yeah,
And you say that like it's nothing. Like
yeah,
but that's incredible. But it was built over time.
yeah,
Like it didn't just happen in a day. Like you've been at this for quite some time. So
yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, that's incredible. All right. So now you jump in, you take over the office, you decide that you want to build something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what started in you? There's obviously, in my opinion, there's a passion behind somebody that just it fuels them, right? There's a fire. Maybe it's the way that you were brought up. Maybe it was seeing a mentor. What started to really light this fire in you to be at a point now where you can say that so fluidly that you have 13 properties and 7 other passive streams of income? What
Mm-hmm.
started that? Because that's not normal to a lot of people.
I just think I'm a natural driver. You say the word opportunity to me, and I know we've talked about this often.
Yeah, we
right?
talk about opportunity.
Yeah. So, I'm just a natural driver. I like building things. I'm an achiever. I like building things. I think it was just my natural tendencies, honestly.
Yeah, and I think for you that the growth is only getting started, especially now that your kids are getting older. I
Yes.
also want to go back to another point that you made about you like to get uncomfortable, and you realize that once you get out of that comfort zone, that's really where all the magic starts to happen.
Yep.
What I think is that leading up to the current market that we're in, many agents were extremely comfortable, or maybe they weren't comfortable, but they were making the amount of income that they wanted, or the sales were just seemed like they were just falling from the sky.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, for many, the rug got pulled out, and now there's a lot of people that are very uncomfortable. Let's talk to those people, Amy, that maybe they were comfortable. They didn't realize that they need to stay uncomfortable in order to continue to grow. And now they're freaking out, figuring out what do they do next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lean into that. And we're moving into, or we're in, actually, we're not moving into it. We are here, a skills-based market. So we need to really focus on our skills, and we have to lean into learning and be okay with failing forward. I mean, we are not going to say exactly what somebody wants to hear us say. We need to get comfortable with making mistakes and saying things that sound silly, to be able to move forward and build the skills in order to build a business, if that's what they're looking to do.
That's awesome. And I also want to give you a shout out and a thank you, because we didn't talk about this part of the journey, but when I stepped into the leadership roles in KW and, the whole journey that we've both been on, you were one of the ones that really you jumped right in and whatever it takes, whatever you need. So I just want to say thank you and give you a shout out on the podcast here because you were a big part
Absolutely.
of that.
Absolutely.
All
Yeah,
right.
no problem. You are a great co-team leader.
Another thing I want to talk about, because I think that you're world class at this, is relationship building.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize, I think, the value of relationship building,
Yeah.
especially going deep in relationship building.
Hmm.
And I think that I especially have a lot of work to do on this because I have my hand in so many different pots, and there's only so much time that you can give to conversations or to networking events or things of that nature. So talk to me about that. I mean, you've been able to grow a pretty big reach. I recently saw you put a post out on Facebook. You're looking to buy a couple more properties. You're looking to grow. And, the post went insane and people are reaching out to you with opportunities. So obviously you have a big reach. You have a deep relationship skill set. What did it take to build that? And is that something that you're constantly working on, or how do you go about enhancing that skill if you're listening to that and that's the route that you want to go?
Yeah. So I am definitely a people person. I love helping people. I love connecting people, finding out what people's strengths are, what their passions are, and then connecting them with, like-minded individuals. That's always been a passion of mine. And helping people as well. I like identifying people who are in need and then putting them in touch with somebody that's able to help them through the difficult time, or if I can't. So I really think it's a skill set that is just who I am as a person. I like connecting people and building deep relationships with them. I think it's
Yeah.
important, if you are looking to grow and you're asking for help, you need to make sure that you have that relationship prior to asking for help. What is it like? Candor and you know what I'm saying, Greg?
Yeah. No, but I think the connector part of that is huge. And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't really take seriously enough. And
Yeah.
I think that that's the reason why so many either thrive or they struggle in business, and especially in this world,
Yeah.
is because if somebody in your network needs something and you go above and beyond to provide that connection or provide that intro, nobody forgets that, especially when they're thinking about who to refer for real estate or mortgage or title or whatever, chiropractic or whoever's listening to this podcast.
Yep. Absolutely. 100%. People won't forget how you made them feel, and they are going to want to help you, when you ask them or
That's a
tell
good
them that
one.
you need help. It's
I
huge.
think everybody should write that one down. People will not forget the way that you made them feel.
Yeah.
All right,
They'll forget what
let's
you
talk.
said, but not what you made them feel. Yeah.
There you go. All right, let's talk about being a working mom through all this. I mean, you've been, deep in it with the 4 kids and sports, and every time I talk or text with you, you have something going on, right?
Hmm.
And it's not like you took a break or a hiatus. And how did you do all that? And I know that
Yeah.
people talk about balance, but there's not really balance when you're growing a real estate portfolio, you're running companies, you want to keep the kids happy, you want to keep them growing. What was that journey like?
Yeah, so you can't do it alone. You need to find a tribe. So whether it's family or friends or neighbors or whoever it is, you need to find that tribe. That's number one, because you can't do everything. You need that support system. That's huge. Number two, your schedule and your habits are what is going to set you apart from anybody else, any other parent that's looking to do something really big. If you don't have a schedule, naturally, I'm organized, but I'm not, very much into systems. I know how important they are. So that's a focus of mine. That's something that I'm working on. But yeah, your habits and your schedule is by far what's going to set you apart. And
Yeah,
then also, like, your passion. You have to make sure that you're passionate about what you're doing. If it's something that's going to take a lot of time and energy and mind space, you have to make sure that you're passionate about doing it to make it worth it.
and what do the conversations look like with the kids now around how much that you guys have going on? and the journey and especially the wealth building, because now you have, how old is your oldest?
20.
20. So do you involve her in any of these conversations, and like what does that look like?
Yeah. So they've all been involved in conversations and experiences. I mean, we've gone and, picked up rent before. We've gone to court together. Well, they've sat in the car if we've had to do that. But yeah, they've all been involved. Conversations, on the phone. As far as my oldest, she's not very much involved. She's in college right now. So that's what she's focusing on. And I'm allowing her to focus on that. Unfortunately, real estate isn't a huge passion of hers. My 16-year-old, well, she's not 16, she's 15. She'll be 16 next month. She definitely wants to get into real estate. That's something
Watch out.
Yeah.
Watch out.
So that's cool.
Awesome.
But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I would say they've been brought up with it. They know that my husband and I are entrepreneurs and, are looking to do big stuff.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the coaching end of it. So not only have you been coached, and I believe you're still currently coached, but you've also coached a lot of agents along, this past decade of your growth and leadership and all this craziness going on in the offices and expansion. So what's that been like? And especially now in this current market. So when you've been licensed, you went right through, the big shift or the big crash of 07 and 08. And now we're moving into a new season. What are you doing in terms of coaching, or how are you coaching people differently that are in your world today?
Yeah. So right now I am not coaching agents on a daily basis. I'm coaching team leaders, the role that I used to be in. I'm coaching them in 4 of the offices that I now work with. So I'm coaching them on how to coach the agents. But basically it's mindset. 90% of the conversations that they're having, that I'm coaching them to have is based around mindset. And then their habits, making sure that they are lead generating on a very consistent basis, because they got away from it. We got away from it. Everybody did. It wasn't something that we needed to do on a regular basis, but now we do. And if we're not, then, who knows what the next 90 days is going to bring.
Yeah, 90 days, 180 days, the next year. And this is actually a conversation that I just had with somebody about, the one thing, right? Like, I've always kind of pushed away from the one thing because I have so many different buckets going on, but I've actually come back to it to try to get some more self-reflection. And what I've realized is that I do have a one thing, right? Besides my family and my obligations, my one thing, no matter what, is lead generation.
Yeah.
And it can be lead generation via, how do I get the word out for the podcast? How do I get the word out, that we're growing the office? How do I keep the sales team going? How do I keep the pipeline going for the investment properties? And even though it's like 4 or 5 different collected sources, it still comes back to one thing, and that's lead generation.
Yep.
So
exactly.
Let's talk a little bit deeper about the mindset and the coaching that you're doing right now. Okay. So let's say if I was in your world, which I am, but you don't coach me indirectly, or you don't coach me directly, even though I think that you still give me, some indirect coaching.
We do it to each other.
Yes. And a lot probably about organization on my end. But let's just say if for that person that needs the help with the mindset right now because they're just not where they need to be, what does that look like for you?
There's really no point blank answer. I mean, it's
just tough conversations, or is it fact finding, or what do you think it is?
Yeah,
You're good at getting to the root cause.
Yeah, I am. It's asking a lot of questions to figure out what the actual situation is. So if they're not having a good day or they're just off, just identifying what's wrong. And 9 times out of 10, it has nothing to do with the business. It's more personal than anything. But I would say asking a lot of questions is how you're gonna fix the situation.
And I think that for you especially, because it goes back to what we talked about in the beginning, is the relationship building aspect of that. And I think that all the leaders and the business owners and the entrepreneurs that are listening, you need to take this to heart, because if you're not in relationship with your people, you can't have those conversations to be able to dig deeper. Would you agree with that?
100%. You can have those conversations, but the chances of the conversation going well is very slim. So you could have somebody that you don't have a relationship with, and you could be very candid with them and almost come across harsh. Yet if I built that relationship with the person and I say the same exact thing that the other person said, it comes across very differently because we have that relationship already built. And they know that I'm, coming from care. They know that I want what's best for them. I think we've all experienced that.
Yeah. I think that's a really good summary of you. Is just like, you come from relationships. It gets the people to trust and like you. And then it grows into like a deeper coaching aspect.
Yep.
And then there comes the growth. So let's go back to the growth. And I want to pivot and shift over to more of the wealth building. Okay. A lot of people, they talk about, I want to get that first property. I want to get the second property. What I find is that a lot of people stop at the first property because it's not always it's not always easy to start to play ping pong and go number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. So you've taken that a step further. You went to number 13. So what was that like? And how intentional did you have to be about the growth of your portfolio? And can you also give us a little summary of like what you guys have? Because you have a mix, right? You do some Airbnb, single, multi. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. It's primarily single. We have 11 single, 1 multifamily, and then we have 1 Airbnb, but we're actually getting rid of the Airbnb. We're in the process of selling that. People are crazy. Just leave it at that.
It doesn't fit with your life goals, right?
No.
Yeah.
It does not. But so how did we scale from, was that the question? I apologize.
Yeah. Like what made you realize, over a dinner conversation or something with your husband, like, okay, I think we figured this out and I think we can keep going, instead of doing what a lot of people do and just stop?
Well, I don't think we figured it out, deal 1 or deal 2. I think what we were thinking, I know what we were thinking was we want to become financially free.
There you go.
That was the end game. So we were going to buy as many properties as we needed to in order to get to that. So, we were able to work through the pain and still work through the pain. I mean, sometimes it's, not easy. You have crazy tenants or situations that need to be dealt with. But yeah, it's really the end game and having a goal each year of how we want to grow.
Okay.
That's what got us through.
And where do you plan on taking this, Amy? We're going to put you on the spot, since this is recorded and this is going to be on YouTube and Apple iTunes and Spotify.
So I'm burning my bridges.
There you go. So I want you to be able to look back in 5 years and say, wow, I was at 13 and now I'm at 1,300.
How cool is that? So 2024, I want to acquire 2 more multifamilies, 5 more long-term properties, and then do 10 flips. I really want to focus on flips in 2024. I think there's going to be huge opportunity.
Why do you think there's going to be so much opportunity, Amy?
Because the market is changing. I mean, people are in distress and they're going to need to sell. I feel like there's going to be an influx of people that are going to need to sell their properties. There's going to be a lot of people, baby boomers, so to speak, that are wanting to downsize or, tax liens. There's so many different avenues.
All right. So I want to get a little granular here. And I want to challenge you, because I know that a lot of people, like, they talk about goals, but then there's no action steps to be able to make sure that there's something to track to see how they're going to get there. But you're good at that because you got to 13 properties in a pretty short period of time. So how are you going about, like, putting the steps in place? Is it activity? Is it mailings? Or, like, how are you going to know that you're moving the needle to get to the next destination?
Yep. So It is going to be identifying the systems that we're going to put in place, and then identifying the people that we're going to be working with, and then just making calls, getting on the phone and making calls. I don't think I'm going to do very many mailers right now. I think it's going to be more getting on the phone and making calls, and then maybe some text messaging, getting in front of people, door knocking if necessary, if you know, if that allows. But yeah, just making the calls,
That's
time
awesome.
blocking, setting a schedule.
Time blocking and setting a schedule. I think that's the two
Yep.
the two main ones that are going to make sure that you get there.
Yep,
That's
exactly.
awesome. All right. So, what advice would you give to young female real estate entrepreneurs, especially working moms, single moms that really want to get into the real estate business and make this a career and
Mhm.
ultimately get on their way to financial freedom?
I would say the first thing you're going to want to do is get a coach or a mentor. A coach you typically have to pay for. A mentor is somebody that you can identify that has done something similar to what you're looking to do. And typically you don't pay a mentor. So probably first step would be to get a mentor. And just pick their brain, find out how they did it. Don't reinvent the wheel. I mean, there's no need for that. There's so many people that have done it prior to us. Why do something totally different? Why not see how other people did it and then, replicate that? That's the first thing. The second thing is get really purposeful about it. Say you're going to do it, and then do it. Have somebody hold you accountable, whether it's a spouse or a business partner or a friend or your mentor, being held accountable, because in this industry, we don't have to be doing things 9 to 5. We don't have anybody holding us accountable unless we ask for that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that I see just from the outside looking in, and especially like, putting out posts to try to find great people. Many people, I think, would be very surprised to know how little that people take advantage of that. And even to the point of where, like, you're telling people like you're here to help them, but so many people, I think, whether it's fear, whether it's they're self-conscious about something, or they feel they just limiting beliefs. They
Yeah.
don't think that they're worthy. They're just not willing to put themselves out there. And guys, if that's you listening to this, I would highly recommend you have to top grade and you have to upgrade the amount of people that you're speaking to on a weekly and monthly basis to be able to put yourself in different rooms. Because if you're just having the same conversations over and over again, and you're just counting down to Friday, and then you're going to run out the weekend, and then Monday it's like Groundhog Day all over again, you have to top grade the people that you surround yourself with.
100%. Yeah, you're only going to grow to the extent that you are surrounding yourself with. I think
Yeah,
you are the sum of is it 3 or 5 people that you hang
I
out
think it's
with?
5.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's very true. It's very true. And I think, like, for me early on, I was afraid of no. Like, I was afraid of somebody saying no to me. So I think that that's a lot of people's fear as well. And now I know it's inevitable, and I know I have to hear a certain amount of no's before I hear a yes, whether it's, in sales or whether it's recruiting. It's okay now. It's all a part of growth.
Yeah. What I also encourage a lot of people to do, and I found this really successful, especially in the early days, is if you find a partner or if you find a small little tribe of people that can help to hold each other accountable, to make sure that at the end of the day, you're texting, okay, you said that you were going to talk to 10 people or 20 people. I talked to 10 people or I talked to 20 people. If you don't have that, especially in, the entrepreneurial space, and you're just kind of hanging out like up here in your head all by yourself, not only is it a lonely space, but I think that that's a recipe for disaster, especially if you're not paying a coach or you don't have a high level mentor, because it does not do anything to stretch you outside of your comfort zone. and I know that we talked about, comfort kills and the comfort zone. You have to find the people that are really going to push you and give you the kick when you need it. And one thing that I always used to talk to my coach about is like, okay, if you're say that you're going to do this, but you don't do it, then what are you going to remove from your goal list, or what are you going to remove from the vision board?
Yep. And if you, I mean, you had mentioned finding people that are going to hold you accountable. And if you're not doing that, if you decided to get into real estate and you're not finding somebody to hold you accountable, you're subconsciously telling yourself that you're not worth it, or you don't really want to do this, or, there's a reason why you're not holding yourself accountable or having somebody hold you accountable.
Very true.
So get to the bottom of that.
You're hiding. You're just kind of like hiding. You're hanging out. And a lot of people, I think, are still just in this hope mode, like hoping the market's going to change or hoping it was different. That you're going to hope yourself right out of business. So you better you better get around the right people.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially if you're in New Jersey, like we have a pretty big network here, and we're always looking at top grades. So reach out.
Absolutely, please do. I love connecting with people who want to build something.
Awesome. All right, let's get ready to wrap up. Just a couple of final questions. I know you have a busy schedule. So talk to me about your daily habits and how you prime your mind and your body for success.
Yep. So I would say 4 days out of the week, I make sure it's at least 4 days that I stick to this schedule. I'm up at 5:00. I go downstairs. It's my quiet time before everybody wakes up. So 5:00, I wake up, I go get a cup of coffee. I do some journaling. I do some meditating. I do some affirmations. That takes about 45 minutes. Then I go upstairs, I take a shower. Then I go and get the kids up around 6:30. And then we're out the door by 7:15. 4 of the 5 days a week, I'm going to the gym. So I drop the kids off at 7:30. Leave the house at 7:15, drop them off at 7:30. I'm at the gym by 7:45. That's 4 out of the 5 days a week. And then I'm ready to start my day.
You said that you didn't have the structure and the systems. You have the structure.
No, I do, because I know how important it is.
Oh, yeah.
I know how important it is to have that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's not my natural tendency, but if you want it bad enough, you can make it happen. You just have to put the system in place.
That's a good one. All right. So another one is, work, business, building a portfolio. A lot of this can be very stressful. Yeah. What would you have done differently to build your real estate portfolio? And I kind of I don't even want to ask this, would you do it all again? Because I know that you would. But what would you do differently along your journey? Or what would you coach your kid to do if they want to build their own portfolio?
Mm-hmm. Well, I certainly don't think I did everything perfectly. But what I will say is John and I, find yourself a John. John and I have really similar goals, and we work really well together. So that was like imperative to growing what we grew and what we plan to do in the future. But as far as mistakes, John and I did buy 2 properties during COVID without going in them, which was fine. We just couldn't get the people out.
Oh, wow.
So that took a while. I wouldn't do that again. I wouldn't buy a property with tenants in it. That's something that I would not do. What else wouldn't I do that we have done? I love private lending. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really great way for new people to get into the investment industry and purchasing properties. I would say I would have done a little bit more research and built more relationships with private lenders than we did. We mortgaged more through a bank than I would have liked to.
That's, I think, a huge one, because I had the same revelation when I listened to a podcast. I'm trying to think what year this was. I want to say it was in probably 2016 or 2017. And I was also reaching the point where I'm like, this is a pain in the ass to have to get mortgages and have to, go through tax returns and all of this. It was horrible.
It's
Then I
yeah.
heard this company, I don't even know if they're around anymore, but it was like Patch of Grass or Patch of Land or something. It was on, I think, the Bigger Pockets podcast. And they're like, yeah, we'll give you all the money if you put 10% down, and then we'll give you the rehab money and you can close in 2 weeks. I was like, hold on a second. Hold on. I remember actually where I was. I was in the previous real estate company that I was working in. There was nobody there. And I got on the phone with the guy within like an hour, the guy that was on the podcast. And I'm like grilling this guy. And then I remember, like, I started calling people. I'm like, did you know about this? Like, so here's the moral and the key takeaway, right? Is you have to surround yourself with people,
Yep.
especially people, and I'm actively working on this, that are 1, 2, and 3 steps ahead of me.
Yep.
Because that's where you're going to get the knowledge and the nuggets and everything that's going to really help to fast forward that. Because up until that point, I'm like, I don't know if I want to go through this process all over again because it was so painful.
It's very painful. Yeah, and it doesn't matter if it's a $200,000 property or an $800,000 property. You have to do it the same exact way through a mortgage company. It's yeah.
And what I found was especially painful, especially when like you're trying to buy your own primary residence or make your own investments. And then you're like, well, if I buy this, then they're not going to like this. I mean, with a private lender, they don't care as long as the property makes sense. So,
yeah.
Thank you for adding that one in, because I think that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Big learning curve.
All right. So thank you so much for being on here, Amy. For anybody that might want to get in touch with you or join the movement that you have going on and help you to get to that, I think it was like 10 flips, 2 multifamilies, 5 more long terms.
Yep.
That's incredible goals. How can people reach out to you or connect?
Yeah, you can call me. You want me to say my cell phone?
Hey, it's your world. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, you can call me 908-343-1982, or you can email me. So it's my first and last name, Amy Phillips with 2 L's at kw.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, Amy. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks so much, Greg.